Shanti, Shanti. Namah Shivaya, and welcome to meditation today. Last week I spoke a lot about karma and action and free will, and I'm going to finish up that thought and that thread today. Last we saw each other, I spoke about how karma, you can't really predict how karma is going to play out. And I told you a story of Gandhara, the mother of the Kauravas in the Mahabharata, and to express how that what was good for the totality of the world was not good for a single person, and in effect that plays out karmically. One of the things that it's not, we don't really see it a lot in a lot of the teachings of the West, but is this idea that before karma is created, actually, because sometimes we'll call karma, or the seed of karma, we'll call it like a seed, that it will be planted and that it will sprout and it will develop and grow. But even a seed needs an environment to be able to do that. You know, it needs soil, it needs water, it needs sunlight, it needs, everything. The environment has to be right for the seed to be planted. And so we don't ever talk about the environment. The environment really that karma grows out of is kama, and that's K-A-M-A. And kama in Sanskrit means desire. And so for anything to really happen, there has to be desire. In the teachings that I first came into yoga with, kama wasn't even mentioned. Like, it was like a non-existent thing. But as you really go deeper into some of the studies, Upanishad studies and studies within the Puranic teachings, which are the storytelling, and even Vedic teachings, kama appears very often. And kama, or desire, is actually in some of the earlier Vedic stories from the Vedas is what gives rise to Brahma actually opening his eyes and creating the world, that he has a desire to do that. He has a desire to experience that. So desire becomes the environment for action to actually be created. In Upanishad tales, and stories, we see kama being compared to yama. And yama is death, and so they're kind of set on opposite poles. That desire is that thing that we experience life in, and yama is that thing that takes that desire away. And out of the Upanishads, we get into the Puranic tales, where these are the mythological tales that that are more colorful, and we see that continuation of kama being explained in those storytelling modes along with yama. So we kind of start to see a vision through the Puranic tales of what kama looks like. And kama is if you think of the Roman Cupid, he's very much like Cupid. He's very kind of round, childlike, boyish. He does have a wife, so he's not a child like Cupid. Kama has Kami, who is his wife, but he's jolly. He has an arrow, bow and arrow. He shoots sugarcane. He's sweet, he's playful, he's mischievous, and so you see that desire is uh, kind of sophomoric. I mean, sophomoric would be a good word because it's not childish. It's just not completely a senior action or a mature, thought out action. Desire can be frivolous. Desire can be spontaneous. Desire can be, um, uh, not really thought out long term. And so you then see Yama, who is the Lord of Death, as very mature and lean, mean, kind of serious and deep and dark. And so desire versus Yama, right? Kama versus Yama. Um, what we also see is that idea that desire creates action, that karma comes out of desire, a desire to experience something, a desire to need connect to something, a desire for something different, a desire for whatever that is, and out of those actions we end up, you know, creating, planting the seed of karma, and that grows. Um, the last idea to be planted within this idea of karma is dharma, right? And dharma can almost be seen as a balance like yama. Dharma is mature. Um, to first experience desires, if we don't experience our desires on some level, then they're always kind of eating at us. But then, we also have to understand that sometimes we have desires that are not really healthy for us. They're not healthy for those around us, and they don't service uh, a greater purpose. And so it's that moment when we will start to realize that. That's the practice of yoga, that we start to understand how our karmic actions need to kind of move away from just that spontaneous, sophomoric energy of kama, and really move toward the more mature energy of dharma. Like, what do I need to do? What is my purpose in life? How can my actions best service all? And so dharma really becomes the focus of the yogi. Like, what is my life's purpose? And dharma can be seen as if you decide that you want to be a nurse, then your dharma from that moment on is to service those that are in need and who are sick as a nurse. No one should go into nursing because they think it's going to be fun, or it's going to be like an easy job, or like a frivolous desire. Once you get involved in nursing, it's kind of a serious situation. You're helping other people in their health and the needs of sick people. So you kind of end up moving away from just personal desire. You end up being of service. The same way if you decide to be a parent, if you know, parenting is a great example of how that, like, a child comes out of desire of two people wanting to come together and be intimate, and then there is the child that may come out of that, and at that point that karmic action has to go into dharma, that, you are then there to protect and serve and be a parent. And so there's this mature um, growth that comes out of that connection of understanding how desire, action, and then responsibility is interconnected. Um, we should probably talk more about Dharma. I know that in my lineage, Jivamukti, we didn't speak a lot about Dharma either. Dharma was mentioned kind of in passing, especially when talking about these concepts like the Bhagavad Gita, but it wasn't really explained. It took me a lot of studying and a lot of outside work to really understand what is meant by Dharma and how important Dharma is for the yogi. And that if the yogi doesn't understand their Dharma, they're really kind of not committed to um, a more universal purpose of the existence of having the body, of having the mind, right? I tell you constantly, you have a body, you're not the body, you're not the mind, but you do have a body and you do have a mind. And when we talk about Dharma, it's an understanding that like God has given you this gift of the body, of the mind, to serve a higher purpose, to to really make the world a better place. Um, but you have to kind of go through all of those stages to start to understand Dharma. You have to kind of, toy around and feel some of those sophomoric, spontaneous desires before you really start to understand the the seeds of karma that you have planted, that have grown, and then understand your purpose. So those three things work really beautifully together. We talk about vinyasa, that kind of linking mechanism in a yoga class. Kama, karma, and dharma have that same linking mechanism. Um, the grace is when, the yogi flows freely through those three stages and always knowing that you're going to end up coming into a place where you have to think about what is your dharmic purpose of life. So, taking a moment, setting up nice and tall, and closing the eyes, and allowing the senses to come inward. And focus the mind. And allow the breath to deep inhales and deep exhales. Deep inhales and deep exhales. As you inhale, hear the sound of Om within yourself. Om. As you exhale, hear the sound of Om within yourself. Om. As you inhale the sound of Om, see the symbol of Om within the mind's eye. Om. as you exhale, see the symbol of Om within the mind's eye. Continue to see and hear the sound of Om within yourself. Inhaling deeply. Continue to see and hear the sound of Om within yourself. Exhaling deeply. Inhale deeply. Exhale fully. Continue the deep inhales and deep exhales. Tell yourself, I am not the body. Tell yourself, I am not the mind. Tell yourself, you are not the thoughts. Tell yourself, you are not the emotions. Tell yourself that you are eternal, infinity, and everlasting. Inhale deeply for the sound of Om. Bringing the hands together, rubbing the hands together, building heat within the hands. Bringing the hands, cupping the eyes with the hands. Gently open the eyes, bring the hands across the forehead, the top of the head, the back of the neck, and bring the hands together in prayer, bowing down, allowing the forehead to touch the hands. Giving thanks and praise for the teachings of yoga from the past, the present, and those that are still yet to be revealed. Om Bodho Sadguru Bhagavan Ki Jai. Thank you all for coming in and sitting down and sharing your meditation practice with me this morning. I will see you again, and namaste.